In this tutorial, we're going to take a quick look at adding dimensions to our sketches. We'll also be looking at what constraints are and how they can also affect sketches. After completing this tutorial, you'll be able to define sketch dimensions in Fusion 360. To begin, you'll need to have the file named Dimensions from the dataset open in Fusion 360. Click for a top view in the view cube and then click Fit in the navigation bar. Let's start by first looking at how to dimension sketches. To add dimensions to sketches, we need to be active in the sketch. Normally, when you're adding dimensions, you'll already be sketching. So double-click Sketch 1 from the browser to edit the sketch. Then from the toolbar, click Sketch, Sketch Dimension. With the Dimension tool active, we now need to select the sketch objects that we wish to dimension. Let's click to select the left-hand side line and then the right-hand side line of the rectangle. Drag down, click to place the dimension. This allows us to see the actual dimension and enter a new dimension if we wish to. Enter 40, then press return. Now the distance between the two selected lines on the rectangle is 40 millimeters. With the dimension tool selected, let's do the same for the top and bottom lines on the rectangle. Drag to the left and click to place the dimension. Change the dimension to 25 millimeters. We can change the dimensions in our sketches very easily, simply by double-clicking them, entering a new dimension, and then pressing return on our keyboard. I can do the same for the other dimension on this rectangle, double-click, enter 20, and press return on my keyboard. I can even change the length of the line, from 50 to 40. And I can also change the diameter on the circle in the same way. If I select a point on this rectangle, which doesn't have any dimensions, you'll see that I can drag the rectangle around, changing its size. But I can't do this with sketches that include dimensions. The dimensions constrain the sketches. There are many ways that we can constrain the geometry of our sketches. For example, some of our sketches here already have constraints applied to them. We can add constraints to the geometry of our sketches in the sketch palette. There are 12 different types of constraints that we can apply to our sketch geometry. For example, Fusion applied the parallel constraint to this rectangle when it was sketched. We can see that these lines are parallel, and that's why when we pick a point at the corner of this rectangle and we drag it around, these lines always stay parallel to each other. We can also see the horizontal constraint on our lines. There's one here on this line and one here on this line. This is a perpendicular constraint. And we also have a tangent constraint for the arc here on this sketch. So as we can see, in some cases, while we're sketching, Fusion will constrain our sketches for us, depending on what tools, commands and workflows we're using. But the best parametric sketches use constraints and their relationships in the most intelligent and effective way. And this is exactly what we're going to be looking at in the next tutorial.